100 years ago, mankind finally unlocked the secrets of teleportation, a scientific breakthrough that promised to change the course of history. With great anticipation, the first test was conducted. However, instead of sending people to the past or future, as many had speculated, something completely unexpected happened. The teleportation process opened a portal to an entirely different world, a place called God's Sanctuary. No one could have predicted this new, mysterious realm. In God's Sanctuary, humanity quickly realized that they were no longer at the top of the food chain. Monsters and beasts roamed freely, and humans were reduced to little more than prey. The weapons and technology that had once made them masters of their own world lost all effectiveness. Guns that could kill with ease no longer fired, and bombs that should have exploded harmlessly sat inert, their power nullified by the strange forces of this new realm. However, a glimmer of hope emerged. The survivors soon discovered that by consuming the creatures of this world, they could absorb their powers, gaining strength and abilities that were unimaginable back on Earth. Even more astonishingly, this new power didn't just make people stronger, it caused them to evolve, unlocking abilities that pushed the boundaries of what was humanly possible. It was a brutal, unforgiving world, but for those willing to adapt, it offered a path to unimaginable power. In the middle of the desert, a group of people were running around. They kicked up clouds of dust with every step. Their shouts echoed across the quiet land. They were chasing a man named n1n. He was equipped with a double-sided axe, which in reality was slowing him down. Han ran as fast as he could, dodging between rocks and sliding down sandy hills. His footprints marked a trail in the sand, but the more he ran, the closer the group of men were in catching him. n1n's heart pounded as he sprinted through the endless desert, the cries of his pursuers growing louder behind him. He had only been in God's Sanctuary for a month, but he already understood one thing: survival meant taking risks. The group chasing him had spent hours working together to bring down the massive sacred beast, coordinating every attack and risking their lives to weaken it. But in the crucial final moments, Han had swooped in, delivering the last blow required to claim the beast's soul for himself. It had been a split-second decision, one he barely had time to think through. But now, with an angry mob hot on his trail and the scorching desert stretching endlessly ahead, regret began to creep in. Maybe stealing a sacred beast's soul hadn't been the clever move he thought it was. The scene shifts to Steel Armor Sanctuary, one of the many shelters within the first sanctuary. Birds circled overhead as the hum of activity filled the air, with traders calling out their wares and mercenaries boasting of their latest hunts. n1n stretched and yawned as he walked, his eyes landing on a man clad in mutant armor. The polished gear glinted under the sunlight, a stark reminder of how far n1n still had to go. The bustling energy of the sanctuary contrasted sharply with the growing weight of his own thoughts. The reason n1n had joined God's Sanctuary so early was simple. He had no choice. His father had died, leaving his family with nothing, and his mother was too weak to work. As the only breadwinner left, Han had to do whatever it took to survive and provide for them, even if it meant taking risks that others wouldn't dare. Suddenly, as n1n's thoughts wandered, he noticed movement in the shadowy alleyway ahead. His instincts kicked in and he gripped his knife tightly, ready to defend himself from what he assumed was a lurking animal. Without hesitation, he lunged forward, striking at the figure from behind. To his shock, his hand made contact with someone's lower back, and the figure let out a startled gasp. Han froze as the person spun around, and his heart sank when he saw it was Qin, the most beautiful and popular girl in their shelter. Her wide-eyed expression quickly turned to a furious glare, and Han instantly knew he had made a terrible mistake. Qin's face turned bright red with fury as she stepped back, glaring at n1n. "What's wrong with you?" she yelled, her voice sharp and full of anger. "Are you out of your mind?" Her eyes were blazing as she crossed her arms, waiting for him to respond. Before Han could apologize or explain, a group of hoodlums, who had always had a crush on Qin, stepped forward, forming a protective wall between him and the girl. They sneered at Han, their hands clenching into fists, clearly ready to defend her and make him pay for his mistake. The group of hoodlums advanced, pushing n1n roughly to the ground. "Get on your knees!" one of them sneered, forcing him to kneel before Qin. As he looked up at her, his heart sank. Qin stood tall, her eyes cold and full of authority. She looked down at him, and with a voice that commanded attention, she declared, "Listen carefully. If anyone dares to help or associate with him from today onwards, you will immediately be my enemy." Her words echoed in the air, heavy with the weight of her power. The tension grew as the crowd watched, knowing the consequences of defying her. n1n, kneeling before her, felt the humiliation burn deep as her declaration sealed his fate. The scene shifted to the rocky plains next to the Steel Armor Sanctuary, where n1n was crouched near a dark cave, hunting black armored beetles, one of the weakest beasts in God's Sanctuary. He swung his weapon at the small, scuttling creature with growing frustration. The beetle's hard shell cracked with each hit, but Han Sen barely noticed, biting into the tough, black armor of the beetle he had just killed. Its bitter taste didn't bother him. His mind was elsewhere, consumed by the frustration of his slow progress. As he chewed, his thoughts turned to his evolution, how little he had advanced in the month since joining God's sanctuary. He stared at the empty space ahead, lost in thought. "Why is this taking so long?" he muttered to himself, his voice tinged with frustration. "I've been working non-stop, but I can barely feel any stronger. Everyone else seems to be moving faster than me." He took another bite, trying to distract himself from the mounting pressure. But the gnawing feeling of inadequacy wouldn't go away. His situation felt impossible. How could he evolve quickly enough to survive in this harsh world, especially now that he was alone? As Han Sen chewed the tough, bitter beetle, his mind wandered back to a painful memory. The time he had tried to fight a primitive copper-toothed beast. The thought of it still stung. He remembered the rush of adrenaline, thinking he could take it down, but it ended in disaster. The beast's razor-sharp teeth had torn through his defenses, leaving him battered and broken. His vision blurred as he recalled the pain and the humiliation of waking up in the hospital, only to be told he'd be bedridden for 6 months. His body had healed, but his pride hadn't. "I thought I could handle it, but I'm still so weak," he muttered, his voice barely audible as he stared at the ground. He took another bite of the beetle, hoping it would distract him from the ache inside, but it only reminded him of how far he still had to go. As Han Sen continued to chew, lost in his thoughts, something unusual caught his eye in the distance. A faint golden light ray shimmered against the rocky plains, pulsating in the quiet air. It seemed to be coming from a creature, and to his surprise, he heard a soft, cricket-like sound emanating from it. Han Sen squinted, his curiosity piqued. The creature looked almost identical to the black-armored beetle he had just killed. Its shape and size were unmistakable, but there was something distinctly different about it. The golden light that surrounded it was unlike anything he had ever seen, glowing with an otherworldly brilliance. The way the light radiated from the beetle's armor made it stand out even from a distance, drawing Han Sen's attention as if it were calling to him. For the first time in days, he felt a flicker of hope. This might be the breakthrough he was looking for. The golden beetle began to crawl steadily toward Han Sen, its golden glow intensifying with every movement. Han Sen's heart raced as he gripped his weapon, preparing for battle. He couldn't afford to hesitate now, not when something this extraordinary was in front of him. As the beetle drew nearer, its clicking sound growing louder, Han Sen's instincts kicked in. Without warning, he leaped into the air, aiming for the top of the beetle's body. His attack was swift and precise, landing a fatal blow to the creature with a force that sent a jolt through the air. The beetle's body jerked violently before it collapsed, its glowing golden light flickering out as it lay still. Han Sen stood over it, panting, as a voice echoed in his mind. "Sacred blood creature black beetle killed. Beast soul of sacred blood black beetle gained. Eat the flesh of sacred blood black beetle to gain 0 to 10 genopoints randomly." A rush of excitement surged through him. A sacred blood beetle. This was the opportunity he had been waiting for. As he knelt to examine the creature's carcass, Han Sen felt a glimmer of hope. This was the turning point he had been hoping for, a chance to finally gain the strength he so desperately needed. Han Sen could hardly believe his eyes. Sacred blood beast souls? Those were the rarest of the rare, almost impossible to obtain. Even in the steel armor sanctuary, only a handful of people had ever managed to acquire one. The thought of having such a valuable beast soul sent a surge of excitement through his body. This could change everything for him, the breakthrough he had been desperately searching for. Eagerly, Han Sen opened up the screen in front of him, his fingers trembling with anticipation. His eyes quickly scanned the beast soul details, hoping to see something extraordinary. The screen flickered before displaying the information. As Han Sen finished reviewing the beast soul details, it dawned on him that this sacred blood black beetle was an armor-type beast soul. He could feel his pulse quicken. Armor-type beast souls were incredibly valuable, especially one with such immense defensive capabilities. But as he pondered its potential, a deeper realization struck him. Only 4 known realms existed in God's sanctuary. Once a person reached 100 genopoints, they were eligible to evolve and enter the next realm. That meant the power he could gain from this beast soul could not only elevate his defense, but also push him closer to reaching the next stage of evolution. With the transformation completed, without wasting another moment, he activated the fusion process. A brilliant golden light erupted from the sacred blood black beetle beast soul as it surrounded him, engulfing his body. He felt a strange yet powerful energy course through him, as if the beetle's essence was merging with his very being. His body pulsed with golden radiance, and for a moment, he felt like he was part of something far greater than himself. As the light faded, Han Sen looked at his body, astonished. The armor that now covered him gleamed with a radiant golden hue, more beautiful and imposing than anything he had ever seen. It wasn't just a regular armor-type beast soul. It was a sacred blood armored beast soul, and it looked far more luxurious and powerful than anything he had seen in the steel armor sanctuary. The intricate patterns on the armor shimmered with an elegance that made his previous armor seem like child's play. He had always been envious of the guys who wore primitive ranked armor, those who had the strength and status he could only dream of. But now, to his disbelief, he had achieved something far beyond that. He had obtained a sacred blood beast soul. He clenched his fists, feeling the surge of strength coursing through him. For the first time since joining God's sanctuary, Han Sen truly felt invincible. He knew this was his moment, the opportunity he had been waiting for. No longer would he be the overlooked newcomer, the one stuck in the shadows. With this power, he could make a name for himself, one that would be remembered in the annals of God's sanctuary. "This is my time," he whispered to himself, determination burning in his chest.